Here we are. Welcome back to the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. I am Melanie, the Hip Hop Scholar, your guide on this journey with all things hip hop. Welcoming you back to the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. I am thrilled and honored to share this journey with everyone as we look into all things hip hop. And keep in mind, hip hop is more than just the music. There's fashion, there are trends, there are many different facets when it comes to hip hop. And what we'll see on this podcast is all the different facets, the multi-prisms that encompass what is hip hop. So welcome back to our ongoing journey, hip hop's most iconic rap duos. We've already traveled through the golden eras of the 1980s and the 1990s, honoring the pioneers who laid the blueprint. Now we step boldly into the 2000s, a decade that gave rise to new sounds, regional power shifts, and game-changing partnerships that reshaped the genre. Now, keep in mind, while we're only scratching the surface, reviewing a few of the standout duos from this era and even the other eras, this is far from the end. This is not encompassing of all of the different duos and all the different rap artists that are out there. We'll continue this series with a look into the 2020s soon enough. I'm going to wait until we get into the year 2030 and then get a overview of all of the artists, the duos that are presented in the 2020s. But for now, we're going to honor the predecessors, those who have paved the way. This is just the beginning of the journey as we chronicle all things hip hop, the art, the culture, the voices, and the visionaries. So be sure to subscribe, like, share, and join me on this ride as well. I welcome you, whether you're an artist, a celebrity, a fan, or someone that's just learning the ropes when it comes to hip hop and rap and all of that. This platform is for you. This is for us. I welcome you to the movement. Now, I also want to share this. Hip hop has always been more than just music. It's a global cultural force rooted in resistance, identity, and truth-telling. From the streets of the Bronx to the barrios in Latin America and townships in Africa, hip hop expresses political ideologies that speak both to local realities and global struggles. It critiques systems of oppression, amplifies marginalized voices, and asserts cultural pride, often without needing permission or validation from mainstream institutions. So this is that battle against that mainstream dominant narratives that we always see and try to fight and bump up against. Whether addressing police brutality, poverty, colonization, or social justice, hip-hop serves as a mirror and a megaphone, empowering communities to define themselves on their own terms and challenging the narratives that are imposed on and upon them. All right. So with that said, we have our very first duo that we will be presenting for the 2000s. And this takes us to Latin America, where we have Calle 13. Okay, this is from the 2000s, and we're looking at these duos. So the first up we're going to look at is none other than the Calle 13. When we think about Latin hip hop, our primary focus in this discussion will be on the groundbreaking duo of Calle 13 that you see here right beside me. These artists who redefine the genre through poetic lyricism, political critique, and genre-bending innovation. Now, however, I must give honorable mention to the forefathers who laid the foundation for this Latin hip-hop rise. Vico C, the lyrical architect who brought socially conscious rap to the Spanish-speaking world. Tego Calderon, whose Afro-Caribbean fusion and unapologetic voice championed Black identity within Latin music. And we also have Tempo, a lyrical heavyweight whose raw, street-centered narratives made him a legend in the underground scene. So these artists, they didn't just influence Calle 13, they helped shape the entire DNA of Latin hip hop. So I want to preface that first, okay? We will be talking about these duos, but Vico C, he's often called the father of Latin hip hop. He was a pioneer in Spanish language rap during the early 90s. His socially conscious lyrics and storytelling set the tone for the genre before reggaeton became mainstream. Albums like Hispanic Soul in 91 and Aquel que había muerto in 1998 were foundational in Latin urban music. You also have Tego Calderon, emerging in the early 2000s. He brought Afro-Caribbean rhythms and socially reflective lyrics to reggaeton and Latin hip-hop. His 2003 album, El Abayarde, was a game changer, fusion bomba, salsa, and hip hop with raw political insight, representing Afro-Latin identity and marginalized voices from within Puerto Rico. And then La Secta All-Star, also known as Tempo. Depending on that, Tempo was a major figure in Puerto Rican rap in the late 90s and early 2000s for his battle rap style, lyrical complexity, and anti-establishment themes. They also blended rock with rap and Latin elements during the early 2000s, which honorably contributed to the evolution of Latin alternative and urbano crossover scenes. So with that being said, as we look into Calle 13, as it goes along our theme with the iconic rap duos, these were not the first of its kind. You think of Bad Bunny as representative of Puerto Rico. He also had many other influences in the hip hop genre, one of those being Calle 13. They were founded in 2004 by stepbrothers. We have Rene Perez Joglar, Residente, right here, beside me here, and then Eduardo Cabra Visitante. Stepbrothers again. Rene was the lyricist and the rapper, and Eduardo was the producer as well as the instrumentalist. Now, they had a breakout single, Querido FBI, in 2005, their political anthem, which was released online in 2005 after the killing of Puerto Rican independence leader Filiberto Ojeda Rios. It helped establish their reputation as socially conscious artists. So these are conscious rappers that kind of went up against that gangster rap that was also presented as well, especially in that mainstream media, where you see that conscious rap and that conscious lyricism, but that spanned the globe. Their debut album, Calle 13, in 2005, it was a self-titled album, blending reggaeton with alternative and hip-hop influences. So being able to amalgamate all of these different genres into making this amazing sound that not only was entertaining, but also a shift in a movement. Their hit single, Atrévete became a major success across Latin America and the US. And if you go to YouTube Music now, on that album, it has over 669 million views on that song alone. And it's a dope song as well. So I encourage you to check that out. So they're not just reggaeton, but much more. While often being lumped into that genre, and how often do we see artists being lumped into one genre where they can only be pigeonholed and put into a corner to represent one thing? Calle 13 resisted that. They resisted the label and they incorporated hip hop. They incorporated salsa, cumbia, tango, electronica, and even much more. They emphasized lyrical depth and political commentary, standing apart from commercial reggaeton acts. They are Grammy and Latin Grammy award winners as well. By the end of the 2000s, Calle 13 had won multiple Latin Grammy awards, including Best New Artist in 2006, as well as Album of the Year in 2009 for Los de Atrás Vienen Conmigo. They're also known for provocative lyrics and activism. Calle 13 became famous for controversial, irreverent, and political lyrics, tackling themes like colonialism, poverty, and identity. Residente's wordplay and Visitante's eclectic sound set them apart in the Latin urban music scene. And we see that not just in the past, but absolutely in the present, how it encourages other artists from all around the world. So when you think of hip hop, you don't just think of it being one-sided, just the entertainment, just the dance, just the fashion, but these are movements. This is the building of the culture in several different cultures in all different continents around the world. So the article I have, this is from December 2020. This is entitled Calle 13 and Ana Tijoux's Joyous Rebellion, a modeling transnational protest through lyric and song. And the author for this is Ryan Pinchot. And so he talks about palabras clave. So some keywords here that are in this article: rap, movimientos sociales, protesta, hip hop, Calle 13, and Ana Tijoux, who is a French-Chilean rapper herself, in this wake of activism through lyric style. So one of the notes that I have here is the stance that they brought when they were erupting on the globe. So this is during the Arab Spring, Occupy Wall Street. Two of Latin America's most acclaimed contemporary rap artists released songs calling for more dissent, more intensity, and even more outrage. So again, with the Puerto Rican group Calle 13 and Somos Ser by Chilean rapera Ana Tijoux, they marked a political hot point for these already famous musical acts. So in the BET Music Awards, Doechii did the same thing where she used that platform with her being honored with the award to talk about the contemporary issues that were happening right outside and what we are seeing right now in the United States and even all over the world. So being able to not only be this entertainer, being this person that you buy a ticket for and go see a concert for, they stood for so much more. And so with legacies like Doechii is creating, you also have artists like Ana Tijoux and Calle that did the same. So this theme in multiviral, this is also another Uruguayan literary giant, Eduardo Galeano. In that theme, the universality of the human experience emphasizes that both Calle and Ana Tijoux, given that they enjoyed widespread fame, can be said to speak for more than just Latin America. Mirroring the contemporary globalized nature of protests, these rappers nurture long-term artistic projects that arise from the Latin American experience, but call out to an entire world of disenfranchised and disaffected subalterns. So when you listen to the music, you want to really listen and not just skim through it, right? That's a lyric on Renegade with Eminem and Jay-Z. Jay-Z coined that lyric to say, do you fools listen to music or do you just skim through it? And essentially taking that time to unpack, to even translate, whether it is in a different language or even in the language of your native land, being able to translate what is being said, what is being shared and discussing those things. Much like when you think of Black history, the braids, the patterns that would be in the braids would actually be paths of freedom. Same are the lyrics that we see in artists like Calle. So super shout out to Calle from the past and the present for all things that they bring to hip hop and to all the genres that they represent. So shout out to them as we look into these iconic rap duos, and very honored to share that Latin American hip hop in this podcast as well. All right, so coming back into the States, we have pioneers of coke rap and Southern hip hop realism, Clipse. Grinding. So the members, these consist of twin brothers, Terrence Pusha T Thornton and Gene No Malice Thornton. They were formerly known as Malice, or he was formerly known as Malice, changing his name to No Malice. To me, they're identical twins, so I wouldn't be able to distinguish between Pusha T and No Malice, but they hail from Virginia Beach, Virginia. The duo brought a cerebral, street-centric lyricism that distinguished them from both Southern rap contemporaries and East Coast traditionalists. So they're bringing a brand new type of lyrical skills, not as reminiscent of East Coast, but bringing in their own identities and pushing that upon them as well. So Neptune's partnerships and debut album, their debut album, Lord Willing, in 2002, a dope album to say as well. It was produced entirely by the Neptunes. And when you think of the Neptunes, you're thinking about Pharrell Williams and Chad Ugo, lifelong friends of this duo. The album merged gritty street tales with Pharrell's futuristic minimalist production, cementing Clipse as both critically acclaimed and commercially viable. So even with the commercialism and the way that rap and just the way that they would just bring that lyric in there, they were still representing so much more. And we're going to see that with the articles. Because when I did my research with Clipse, you want to talk about people hating on them. And I'm not just saying the comments and the social media, thinking about 2002, they had haters that were writing for Billboard and for Vanity and for those type of magazines, but they did not care. Their chins were held high to know and to feel and have that faith that they were representing so much more than themselves to change and to make what they wanted without permission from anyone. They did not seek validation. They continued to grind. So that defining anthem, the breakout single Grindin' became a defining anthem of early 2000s hip hop, thanks to its sparse, syncopated beat and unflinching depiction of street hustle. The song is now considered a production milestone and a cultural marker for rap purists and producers alike. And Grindin', you know what I keep in a line when better see me shine. And I'm saying that is such one of the it's a top tier type song where it's like, I don't need permission. I don't need validation from anyone or anything, just of myself, and being true to who you are and what you have, no matter if it looks like what someone else is doing. Clipse, I can definitely say, were not derivative of anything else. They were definitely true to themselves, and using those beats that Pharrell and Chad Ugo brought in, it just makes them a marker in hip hop that cannot go unnoticed. The critical masterpiece here, Hell Hath No Fury, in 2006. So there was some, of course they had drama. Following industry setbacks and label drama, Clipse returned with Hell Hath No Fury, an uncompromising, critically revered sophomore album. Widely regarded as a cornerstone of the coke rap subgenre, it blended icy, avant-garde beats with raw, introspective lyricism. Publications like Pitchfork, XXL, and Rolling Stone praised it as one of the best rap albums of its era. And that was only a few of the authors of those articles that would share that, when a lot of people were trying to keep them down and make them be something that they're not. So shout out to Clipse for staying true to them and representing that for all of us to also be true to ourselves as well. A shift in consciousness, No Malice's transformation. So in 2010, after years of reflecting on the spiritual and emotional toll of their content, No Malice publicly embraced Christianity, leading to the duo's disbandment. He released solo projects centered on faith, signaling a profound transformation that contrasted sharply with his earlier narratives. And that's fine when you go into wanting to embrace other genres, to be who you are unapologetically. We saw that there's a lot of controversy even now from the BET Awards, with Glorilla earning Gospel Music Award of the Year, with her not being a full-on gospel singer, whatever that is. Even Beyonce being a true country singer, or K. Michelle, going against what that reporter is saying. She grew up in Nashville. How dare you say that she's not a country singer? You can be whatever it is that you set yourself to be, and you can change your mind on that as well. That shift in your own consciousness. You have these representations and these examples for you to grow with. And that's what life is. Life is a journey that we grow into, and we, into going from that caterpillar into that butterfly, you get encompassed into something, and then you grow into something else. And truly, the beauty of what you grow into is exactly what you see in the mirror. So honor that and love that, and not be compromised by what someone else may have to say and critique you. Okay, so Clipse is definitely one of those that embodies that, so much so. Their legacy and influence with their body of work, especially with the album Hell Hath No Fury. It laid the foundation for artists like Freddie Gibbs, Benny the Butcher, and even K-Dot in terms of lyrical precision and moral complexity. Meanwhile, Pusha T continued as a super dope solo artist, eventually becoming president of GOOD Music and further evolving the aesthetic of luxury drug rap into an art form. So all of my artists, all of my fellow hip hop heads that are out there, to see the changes, to see these nuances on this coast of hip hop and see these waves come in, it's a beauty to witness and to see it grow. And I encourage all my new contemporary hip hop heads to do your research, look into the past, and see where it all began and started, to see how it has evolved and how it continues to evolve into the future. So super excited as always to talk about hip hop, but to also talk about Clipse. Definitely a part of my adolescence and growing into the person that I am today. Albums like Grindin' and Hell Hath No Fury, those type of music, really push me to ensure that not only is hip hop a genre that I like, but it is something that is exactly that makes me who I am. So shout out to Clipse and all that they do for hip hop. All right. So going into a different type of speed, we have hip hop in Latin America. We also got hip hop, Virginia Beach representing. We also have London in the building with Floetry. Yes, the Neo Soul's poets of the UK to Philly pipeline. So Floetry is composed of Marsha Ambrosius, the songstress, and then Natalie Stewart, the flowist. All right, and together this is hip hop as well. Okay, so no, we're not just going to put them and say, oh, they have to be R&B or they have to be neo soul, but they are also attributed to hip hop as well, because hip hop is all of these things and then more. These are childhood friends that grew up in London who fused spoken word poetry with sultry R&B, pioneering a fresh wave of transatlantic neo soul in the early 2000s. The genre fusion and origins. After relocating to Philadelphia, shout out to Philly, Floetry became affiliated with the Soulquarians movement, alongside artists like Jill Scott, The Roots, and Music Soul Child. Now, keep in mind, the melodic flows that The Roots, Music Soul Child, and Jill Scott had. They from Philly, West Philly more specifically. So don't think that they, you can push up on them. I think Jill Scott definitely represents that piece. Like, her voice is what it sounds like, but her heart is hard like concrete. So be careful with that. But those genre fusions you have to respect. Their sounds blended jazz, hip hop, and poetic lyricism, bridging the UK Black art with American soul traditions, and in such a phenomenal way. Their debut album, Floetic, in 2002, it featured the hit single Say Yes, which earned many Grammy nominations and mainstream success. And Say Yes was a beautiful melody, along with the poetic stylings with of Floetry from the flow assist here, Natalie. The album offered an intimate, sensual, and highly literate approach to soul music, foregrounding Black femininity and romantic vulnerability. So that romantic vulnerability in that intimate setting where they were able to fuse both that lyrical stardom of bringing in those expectant lyrics, the rhyme scheme and all those different things, but in such a melodic way where you can't just say that it's rap, but then you can't say it's not. You can't just say it's R&B and say that it's not. It's all things in such an amazing way that they really paved the way and continue to pave the way for other artists that are as eccentric as they are as well. Spoken words as a sonic weapon, indeed. I love how that is being shared. Floetry's unique edge was the interplay between Stewart's rhythmic spoken word flow and Ambrosius's velvety vocals, offering a duality that was rarely seen in R&B and rap at the time. Their lyricism explored themes of love, growth, sensuality, and creative freedom. They influenced later artists like Afrofuturistic artists like Janelle Monáe, Ari Lennox, and No Name, proving that poeticism and performance art could sit comfortably inside the commercial R&B space. So even artists like Janelle Monáe, and in my studies, Janelle Monáe comes up when we think about Afrofuturism. Shout out to Miss Monáe, in addition to being exactly in her identity, and forgive me for saying Miss Monáe, but just Janelle Monáe, for that person to present what they bring, both as a lyricist and as a singer, and being all that it is that they are. Ari Lennox and No Name also being influenced by artists like Floetry. They also, as most duos do, they did have a disbandment and went on to solo careers. After their second album, Flowology, in 2005, they split. Marsha Ambrosius went on to release some solo projects and even wrote for major artists, notably Michael Jackson, while Natalie Stewart continued as a solo performance poet and artist, preserving the spirit of floetic expression. So Floetry is one of those specific, unique types that really push people like myself to be in my own unique genre. Well, maybe I don't look like somebody else. Maybe I don't want my hair to be like somebody else. Maybe I want to look different. Maybe I want to express myself differently. Maybe I want to listen to some rock and roll instead of just focusing on R&B. So, these types of artists help us to form our identity as we respect their choices for their identity. Now, I have an article here, and again, this is much like when I was doing my research for Clipse. You had a lot more of cynicism rather than the support and the honor of sharing, the specifics with these particular artists. I was able to find one. This was entitled Flowology, in the Yale Cengage Learning article. The author, Clover Hope, in the Billboard, November 12, 2005, volume 117, issue 46, page 36. Okay. Billboard Media LLC 2005. So they shared in their article The third time around, Marsha Ambrosius, the songstress, and Natalie Stewart, the flowicists, are still the definition of harmony. Flowology skillfully pairs Ambrosius' sweet vocals with Stewart's husky rhymes as the two convey feelings of desire and adoration over 11 tracks. So this was one, and not a lot of positive renditions. There were people that talked about the name of their group and just had so much negative to say. But again, on the Hip Hop Scholar podcast, giving honor to all the artists and all that they've done for the history and the legacy that is hip hop. And I want to make certain that Floetry, I hope that one day they hear this and see this, that, thank you for your contributions and being such a worldwide global impact to be that unique, eccentric fusion of so many different genres and being non-negotiable for that. Whether you all decide to be a duo or continue on as solo artists, you all have made your impact such a positive impact, and thank you for never letting that lighten your steam at all. So shout out to Clover Hope for being one of only a few authors that actually gave those real contributions to this group, Floetry. And so appreciative I am here for the Hip Hop Podcast. Okay. So we have that. So we have Floetry. We talked about Floetry and with their melodic style. So we're going to kind of change tracks from this train of hip hop, where we're going to look at no other than probably one of the most renowned rap duos in the 2000s, Ying Yang Twins. That's right, the Ying Yang Twins, Crunk's wildest hype men. So you have the Ying Yang Twin members, Kane, Eric Jackson, and D-Rock D'Angelo Holmes. They were the defining force in Southern club rap and crunk music, emerging from ATL, Atlanta, Georgia, in the early 2000s. So yeah, we have the Ying Yang Twins to thank for really pushing crunk music into the mainstream, very different than your conscious and even gangster rap. This was more of a revolution, as well as affiliated with Lil Jon. Though they're technically not twins, the duo rose to fame through collaborations with Lil Jon, becoming integral to the crunk explosion. Their signature call and response style and rowdy, sexually explicit lyrics made them club staples across the South. Songs like Salt Shaker, Shake It Like a Salt Shaker, what, yep, Even Get Low. Those were their breakout moments in 2003. Their feature on Lil Jon's Get Low and the release of Salt Shaker catapulted them into mainstream visibility. These tracks helped shape the national sound of the club scene, merging those 808 heavy beats, raunchy energy, and infectious hooks. If you in the 2000s, you cannot say, oh, who are the Ying Yang Twins? I mean, songs like the Whisper song, hey, let me whisper in your ear, tell you something that you want to like there. You know that song. Keep saying it. Keep saying, Yeah, I'm not going to sing it for this podcast, but you know it, and you'll probably listen to it today because that Whisper song innovated rap in such a amazing way, that rapping in hushed, breathy tones, flipping the crunk formula on its head. So not only making something new, but taking that new into something newer, the song became a cultural phenomenon, pushing boundaries around explicit content and vocal delivery. So yeah, the Whisper song was something epic at the time, and even now when you think about that loud 808 beat, but then also with that hushed tone of their voices. The regional pride and the cultural impact of the Ying Yang Twins embodied that Southern pride and that DIY energy, making anthems that embraced working class bravado, party culture, and the rebellious ethos of early 2000s ATL. They helped lay the groundwork for later acts like Lil Boosie, Waka Flocka Flame, and even Megan Thee Stallion. They can definitely attribute their rise to fame and their growth to artists like Ying Yang Twins. And so their legacy, and keep in mind, they're still performing to this day. To this day, you can still see Ying Yang Twins go on tour. Though often viewed as novelty or party rappers, their contributions to crunk and Southern rap are truly foundational. They open the door for Southern rappers to dominate the Billboard charts without compromising regional sound or their cultural identity. So the Ying Yang Twins were very unique and very instrumental in what they had to say and represent for the South. Let's see. So with that article that I have for them, So with that particular article, I think I had a little bit of a challenge with finding Ying Yang Twins, or there was actually an encompassing many different articles that did share with the Ying Yang Twins, but I'll add that article to my growing bibliography. If you go to my link tree, you'll see my growing bibliography, as well as the credits to my images that I'm using from Creative Commons or from other sources. So you'll be able to read and see those articles. There were many articles that actually honored the Ying Yang Twins. So shout out to Kane, Eric Jackson, as well as D'Angelo Holmes, as well as Atlanta for all that is done for hip hop as well. All right. Now, with that said, and this podcast presents all things hip hop, whether you are conscious rapper, gangster rapper, doesn't matter, because everything represents hip hop, and I am all for supporting others' identities. As a college professor, as a parent, as a member of our global society, I think it is vitally important for others to be able to showcase their identities and be exactly who they are to be, and supporting them in making those choices and being who they are and giving respect to what they do as well. So with that said, I am proud to also showcase the City Girls as part of the Hip Hop Scholar podcast. Yes, trap feminism and the rise of ratchet realness. So the origins, the City Girls, they are Miami-born. You have JT, Jatavia Johnson, as well as Young Miami, Carisha Brownlee. They're emerging from Liberty City, one of Miami's most historically underserved neighborhoods. They brought an authentic, unapologetically raw voice to modern Southern rap, rooted in lived experience and survival. So heavy on the word authentic and heavy on the word unapologetic, because nobody should have to be pushed into a corner to be something that somebody else thinks that they should be. And I appreciate the City Girls, because I'm gonna tell you, their music slaps as well. Okay, no cap. I will definitely put on a City Girl song, getting ready to go somewhere or do something, even preparing for a lecture, because it definitely pushes that identity and that feminism and being who I want to be, however I want to be it. So shout out to the City Girls. They in 2017. They signed with Quality Control Music, the powerhouse label behind Migos, Lil Baby, and Lil Yachty at the time. Their signing coincided with a cultural moment, where female rap voices were reclaiming space, and City Girls became part of a larger movement toward female empowerment through trap aesthetics. So, being a femc, a female rapper, starting from the 70s and the 80s. I mean, think about Roxanne Shante and MC Lyte and Queen Latifah and Monie Love and all those other rappers, even Boss, The Brat. I can name so many others where they can tell you, it was a challenge against all these other male counterparts to really showcase and earn their respect. So not only were the City Girls earning their respect as rappers, but also using trap aesthetics with their unapologetic lifestyle in addition to that. Bold lyrics and the trap feminism. Now, these young ladies, they're known for their blunt, sexual, empowered lyrics. The City Girls flip the male-dominated trap narrative. Their music centers around economic autonomy, sexual agency, and even sisterhood, aligning with what scholars and cultural critics have called trap feminism, a bold reimagining of Black womanhood on their own terms. So on one of our very first podcasts, we talked about Salt-N-Pepa, who actually started this movement. Salt-N-Pepa was a blueprint to being unapologetic about their bodies and what they decide to do with their bodies. And City Girls capitalizing on that legacy and bringing in something new and bold and authentic. Viral hits like Act Up and Twerk. That's right. Act Up was written in part by Lil Yachty, and Twerk featured Cardi B, none other than the most renowned artist that we know, Cardi B. I'm looking forward to sharing her story on our podcast very soon. They became viral cultural moments, complete with choreography challenges. I know you saw that on TikTok, memes, and club dominance. These tracks served as rallying cries for a generation of women embracing ratchet as resistance. Fun, fierce, and fully in control. Nothing wrong with that. They were also collaborative powerhouses. The City Girls have collaborated with leading women in rap, including Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, and Lotto. Shout out to those female artists. I welcome you on the platform as well. Hope you can hear that one day. They also helped to foster a new era of solidarity over competition among women in hip hop. Their feature-heavy catalog has also bridged regional styles from the South to the mainstream. Despite legal challenges, and that happens with a lot of artists, there are going to be some legal challenges, including JT's incarceration shortly after their breakout. The City Girls sustained momentum through savvy promotion, social media dominance, and viral content. They've since become symbols of resilience, reinvention, and raw truth-telling in modern rap. And I love the idea of that truth-telling in a raw style in a very unapologetic way. So shout out to the City Girls. Let's see what I have for them. All right, so the City Girls, Girl Code by Kyle Eustace. And this will be again in my bibliography. A stop-start ride makes success all the sweeter for JT, Young Miami, and those who will follow their footsteps. So in this article, they talk about City Girls' hustle is strong. The duo have been friends since middle school and were forced to grow up fast due to their circumstances. But even back then, they realized the future is female. Their story isn't typical. They grew up in tough Miami neighborhoods, Opelika and Liberty City, where poverty was a fact of life. So for that being said, that is the encompass of what hip hop is, right? And in my research and in many different articles up for publication, I would like to add, it talks about how hip hop all over the world is used to make people who are in poverty, that are incarcerated, that are oppressed. This is what gets them out of that depression. Music like what City Girls have and all over the world, being able to freestyle, being able to give that lyrical drum rhythm is what gets people out of that oppression. There is an article that I had written about for a bibliographic essay that discussed how Senegalese prisoners that have been exiled into Australia, when they finally have a domicile or a home for them, guess what the very first thing that they create in their home? It's not a kitchen, it's not a home. They create a studio where they can actually start the freestyle and be able to express themselves in a lyrical way, in a very hip hop way, to help them be able to create a life for themselves. So when you think of these types of stories, even with the City Girls, having to create a life outside of what you are, what you just see and what you know, that means something. That means so much more than the social media dance challenges, and I want to give that honor to these young ladies for what they do, and what they will grow and expand to do, and know that they have given their impact to hip hop as well. So shout out to the City Girls, shout out to Miami as well, with that in the Hip Hop Scholar podcast. All right. With that said, we have one more duo to present. And with that being said, we're going to keep it in the family where we have Rae Sremmurd. Rae Sremmurd, Millennial Mayhem and Melodic Trap Royalty. So Rae Sremmurd, and if you didn't know that, Rae Sremmurd, the title, their stage name is actually Drummer's Ear, right? It is the mirror image of Drummer's Ear. It is composed of brothers Sway Lee, Khalif Brown, and Slim Jimmy Akil Brown, hailing from Tupelo, Mississippi. Their name is Ear Drummers, spelled backwards, paying homage to producer Mike Will Made It, who signed them early. Their debut in early buzz, the duo burst onto the scene in 2015, a debut album stacked with energetic, genre-bending hits like No Flex Zone, No Flex Zone, and don't get me started. No Type and Throw Some More. Their youthful energy and melodic sensibilities help redefine what Southern rap could sound like in the streaming era. And again, this is from Mississippi, Tupelo, Mississippi. Shout out to Mississippi and to these young brothers that made it out to give that legacy, continue that legacy in hip hop. Shout out to Mississippi and the Gulf Coast. Melody over machismo. Rae Sremmurd stood out in the trap landscape by prioritizing melody, emotion, and party vibes over aggression. Sway Lee's falsetto and songwriting became especially influential, leading to major songwriting credits like Beyonce's Formation and French Montana's Unforgettable. So these young brothers, they didn't just focus on that aggressive raw rap that we can be accustomed to, but also bringing those party vibes and even a little bit of songs into that as well. They're singing a little bit there. The Black Beatles, their sophomore album gave them that big hit, Black Beatles, featuring Gucci Mane. Shout out to Gucci Mane. The song topped the Billboard Hot 100 and became the soundtrack to the viral Mannequin Challenge, blending cultural relevancy with music innovation. So we have, this hip hop that started in the late 70s, early 80s, as the icon of lyricism that represents the African diaspora. But even now, in these days, 2025 and beyond, being used as challenges all over the world. So people are absorbing, this hip hop culture, whether they know it or not. They love our rhythm. They may not like our blues, but it is definitely a part of their identity of who they are. Breaking genre boundaries. In addition to that, while rooted in trap, Rae Sremmurd has dabbled in R&B, pop, and electronic sounds, proving themselves as sonic chameleons. Their risk-taking approach has influenced a generation of artists like Trippie Redd, Lil Uzi Vert, and Don Toliver. Enduring fluence and duality. In addition, and lastly, while Sway Lee has often been the melodic frontman, Slim Jimmy brings a grounded grittiness that balances the group. Together, they represent the yin and yang of millennial Southern rap. Part SoundCloud rebellion, part top 40 mainstays. Shout out to those SoundCloud rappers as well. Again, that unapologeticness, right? Where you are putting your music out because it is your music. You feel that music. Being an artist that can write a song and be moved by your own song, and it doesn't matter about the likes. Sometimes you get that breaking point where you go viral and people want to sign you, and then sometimes you do still have that bit of a community that still will give you the likes and still know your songs and those lyrics. But it's really truly about self and your identity, right? And that's what hip hop encompasses. So shout out to Rae Sremmurd and all the different artists that we've talked to and talked about today. Again, I am Melanie, the hip hop scholar. It is always an honor to share and discuss all things hip hop. As we go into our next phase, we're going to be looking at the battles, rap battles in hip hop. And we're going to start with the newer battles. We'll be talking about Joey Badass and Ray Vaughn with what they have going on, and also going all the way back to Kumo D and Busy Bee Starsky and everything in between there. And I hope to see you there as we go along with it. Melanie, the hip hop scholar, the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you soon.